Hello, welcome to All Gathered Up, the show that runs parallel with the Great British Sewing Bee and goes into detail about skills and techniques, whatever comes up each week on the Sewing Bee. And we do that because we've got more time. We sometimes have about 45 minutes to an hour. And also we do it because we have Carol Alayne here, Master Tailor Couturier, joining us. As always, good evening, Carol.
Hello, Stuart. How are you?
I'm very well. I know we're recording later because you've had a busy week with work. So we're here at the weekend.
I have indeed.
I
Yeah.
hope you've got a glass of wine handy.
I do. I think I need another ice cube, but maybe my tech assistant can sort me out with that.
We we shall. We've had a few tech issues as well. So viewers, if Carol looks a bit pixelated, you'll have to imagine the rest. But the sound should be perfect. But so before we go on to the topic, which you can see down there, fabrics, a discussion about fabrics, problems and possibilities. We've all seen, well, certainly the last episode with fabric issues with the made to measure with crochet, putting that through the sewing machine. But we will have chats about fabric in general. But before we go to that, Carol, I just want to talk to you about a few comments from the videos that we've had so far, and I just want to go through them with you. Look at that. Neil there says, "Hi Stuart, just found your podcast and loving the discussions. Especially love the demonstrations with Carol, providing much needed tips, tricks and educational content that is now missing from the Great British Sewing Bee." So how nice is that? Then we have Susan saying, "I love how clear Carol is when she explains techniques. I am really learning from her demonstrations and explanations. On the go days, the first time I ever saw my husband, 1975 in the college canteen, it was his loons. I couldn't take my eyes off." His mum was a tailoress and she'd added an emerald green go day from ankle to knee on either leg of his purple cord trousers. How good is that?
Oh, oh, that's fantastic.
Isn't it?
Oh, that's terrific.
And then we have Mary saying, "Fantastic content in addition to each episode. So helpful to get the pro tips on each of the techniques." And then Raquel says, "Ready to add go days to my next project."
Oh,
How nice is that?
oh, I'll tell you what, I'm thrilled. Well, thank you, everybody. That really, it makes this all worthwhile because that's what it's about. We just wanted to add in the techniques. We hear some comments, that are pretty, sometimes are pretty scathing, aren't they? That doesn't help things, but we can fix that here with
Absolutely.
this bit of show, can't we?
And it means we then have two shows, and that's what people are liking. They like watching the Great British Sewing Bee, and then they come over to us because they then get the detail and the analysis and the longer, slower show. So it's kind of best of both worlds now, really. So wonderful. So let's go into it then. We had Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Week, and our topic, as I said earlier, was this idea about fabrics, because we've seen many problems. The judges will say, "Oh, you probably chose the wrong fabric there," and we never really get enough detail about perhaps why they chose the fabric. So kickstart us into this topic, Carol.
Okay, I'm very happy to, Stuart. I mean, there's a haberdashery there at the Sewing Bee, and they say your time starts now, and then everybody's to run and dash and just, grab something. Maybe it's a color that they see that they want to work with, but maybe the properties of that fabric isn't perfect for the job that they need to do. So, you're led by something. If something's on a bolt, you don't have time to unroll a few feet of it and test it, look at the bias, look at the straight and the cross grain. So it's all in a bit of a rush. And of course, it's a timed challenge anyway, so that adds to the angst of, am I getting the right thing? And I'm sure they throw a couple of ringers in there, don't they?
Oh
A
yeah,
couple of fabrics that aren't suitable, and maybe they're lured in by that. So I thought, you know, because these challenges were more about how to control something which was completely alien to an outfit, and that was taking this crocheted blanket and making it into something. Um, And I thought to myself, what is an outfit? And I always thought an outfit was a set of clothes, things that you combined
Yeah.
to make an ensemble. So that raised some questions throughout, the challenge at the end. But should we take a look at just a few of fabrics that happen to be working with now?
Oh, right.
And
Yes. Brilliant. Yeah.
um,
What have you got? Show us.
and it,
Are you going to have some
so
sort of
if we go to
georgette or some sort of
yeah.
silk?
Oh, you wait and see. Wait and see.
Oh.
If we go to my iPhone camera at the machine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Indeed. Carol
And
Cam.
okay, now you might remember that we worked with ripstop nylon a while ago. So
Yes.
it's got this this grid in it, and it doesn't go anywhere that way, doesn't go anywhere this way, as a little action on the bias. So there's not a lot you can do with this fabric to build in volume. Or is there? Now you might remember that we added a drawstring.
Oh,
Remember
yes.
that?
Yeah, I was
So
thought you
you've
was
got
going to say Velcro, but
all these. Well, we everything is flat, but we added a drawstring, and by doing that, we were able then to build volume into the
Yeah.
piece. So do you remember that?
yeah.
So the problem with this fabric is it doesn't do anything. But if you're able to gather it or pleat it, that gives you another possibility. Okay? So that's one thing. Now, I've got a piece here. I've got a piece of swimwear.
Ooh.
Okay? Now,
Gingham swimwear.
is four-way. Yeah, gingham swimwear. Now, let's see you make a shirt out of this, Stuart. How about it? So, you've got a lot of stretch here in the cross grain. You've got a lot
Oh,
more
look
stretch.
at that. Yeah, it's
Space of grain. Okay? And then you also have a lot of stretch in the bias.
wow.
So that's one of the properties of this cloth. The benefit of it, though, one of the possibilities in making it easier is it doesn't fray.
Ah.
Okay? So you can play with this all you want. The trick, though, is when you're sewing a seam.
Sorry, Carol.
is you have
Just to
to
stop you
keep-
there.
Sure.
When you said when you pulled that edge and you stretched it, this edge here, did it return back to its original state, or has it stayed a bit flary?
No, it bounces back to
Wow.
its original state.
Wow.
And it's made of very strong fibers that
Right.
then retain its body. So
Wow.
unlike the granny squares, which is I suppose the fabric most subject to gravity.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the Billy Connolly sketch in his crocheted swimming trunks, go look at that. You'll see what I mean.
Oh, okay.
But this is different because, all right. It's a great skip, by the way. This recovers very well. So that's one of the possibilities of the fabric, is that whatever you do to it, it will go and get back to its original shape. Okay? But this is one of the properties of swimwear is this four-way stretch. Okay? Now I'm going to bring another cloth in. Now this is silk satin. Beautiful color.
Wow, that is stunning.
It's really delicate, but it's incredibly fluid, and it catches the light, and it doesn't
Wow.
need much to really liven it up. So it likes to be pleated, and
Like
it
I say,
likes
yes.
to be gathered,
Yeah.
and it loves volume. Now let's
Lots
just look
of
at
it.
the properties of this,
Yeah.
and lots of it.
Yeah.
So here we have the salvage edge here, and it's silk, and the straight is very taut. It's very strong cloth. Even though it's delicate and fluid and lightweight. It's also very sturdy. Okay?
Yeah.
And it works very well on the bias as well. So you could take this cloth and you could really beautiful cut slip dress, which would weigh nothing. It's like
Wow.
wearing air.
Yeah.
But this would have that figure hugging simplicity because it works so beautifully on the bias. One of the properties of it, which is maybe a little bit more difficult, it does fray.
Oh, right.
Not much. This
Okay.
is fraying much, but you have to make sure that your seam allowances are generous enough or your French seams are secure enough. So that's a lightweight silk satin. Okay, very strong but delicate, and it's subject to fray. And then finally, this is a double silk. Now let's see if I can explain. This is the offcut of something I've just finished. But this one, again, very sturdy, but the weave of this is very unruly. And all you
Cool.
have to do is
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
And it just falls to pieces. But this one has more of a sculptural potential, I would say, where if you pleat it, it holds, and it
Yes,
has more of
it's
an architectural.
it's
property.
not as I draw there. It's not flopping. It's not loose. It's actually holding that ridge quite firmly, isn't it?
Exactly. You got that in one. So although you have this rather unstable, I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
It just falls to pieces. So you have to be very careful. But then if you get it right, you can build volume very quickly and securely. And as you said, those pleats, they just love to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will create some drama and a half, won't it?
Yeah. Okay. So back to you and I.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the things we might think about. And
Yeah.
of course, we started out the set of challenges with just I would imagine cotton poplin bag,
Yeah.
a simple tote bag.
Yeah. And that's what that was one of the challenges, wasn't it? The tote bag. That was the transformation challenge, having to make a top out of the tote bags, and they could have as many as they liked, couldn't they? But Esme said it's got to have some link with colour and print. There was kind of a criteria aspect there, which they kind of picked up on at some points. But I was saying to Ting, I'd felt a bit bad if I was that person, and they all went, and I was the last to get to that bundle, and I only had a few bags left. But I think they had actually 3 or 4 bags per person, so maybe not so bad.
Okay, so there's plenty of mix, but I think
Yeah.
that yes. So then, if they picked up on that, then the challenge was try to make the best use of color.
Yeah.
But there was also another part of the brief. It said you get extra points if you use most parts of the bag. So I took that as a challenge, and I have a bag. You have a tote bag here, and
No
I
way.
did nothing to this bag. Nothing to this bag. I wrapped it around the mannequin. I put a little bust dart just here.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
I can see that.
Because the strap, which goes around the neck here, because this ended up being slightly higher, it didn't need a bust dart on this side. So
Right.
if I turn this around slowly, and if the camera catches up, so you can see here's the little bust dart.
Oh,
just
yes,
there.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keep that even. Okay. And then they come round here.
Look at that. Is that a
Here's
strap
the
at the
strap
bottom?
in the gusset part.
That's
So there's one part of the strap. Here's the other part of the strap. And only thing I did was to put a buttonhole and a button in it. And that's it. So I thought, but
Wow.
that's a different kind of bag. It's a bag with just one big strap.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
not two smaller ones.
No.
One long strap, and it's almost a crossbody bag. So because I had this long strap, I could come around the neck, and then this is actually, if this is the top of the strap, if you were to hold the bag, and the strap came to a point, that's the point here, where these two straps really form that top
Oh,
arch of the bag. And so there it is. And I thought, well, it'd been nice to see somebody do that, but then I think the bags were different styles.
yes.
They had
Oh, they
two
were all like, yeah.
short
Yeah.
handles. So yeah,
Yeah, it depends on where they sourced the bags from and how higgledy piggledy they were. But there you go. Look, you've just proven you can upcycle a tote bag into a very sexy garment with the back out and the shoulders there.
I think so too. And the thing about this one is you can unbutton it and reuse it as a tote bag, because that
Because you've
comment
not
about
cut anything
you
off,
know,
have you? No.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. And the carbon footprint is not affected, because that was a ghastly statistic that I heard, that it
Yeah.
was, the carbon footprint of making one of these versus plastic. I'd no idea.
Yeah, it's how much
I
water is needed to make the with sorting the cotton out, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. Oh brilliant.
So there we
And
go.
it's a very valid point you make, because when they're running into the haberdashery talking about fabrics, there's not going to be a bolt saying I'm a satin silk, or I'm a bolt, I'm a thick nylon polyester or whatever, or I'm a scuba. You've got to know that from literally the feel. I can't imagine there'd be labels on there, would there?
No, I wouldn't have thought. And you're right. You're spot on. You've got to know fabrics, and you've got to just be very quick and evaluate it and say, this is
Yeah.
either going to work or not. Mm.
So it goes
I
to
realized I skipped the order of things by talking about the transformation first.
Oh,
Sorry
don't worry
about
about
that.
that. Don't worry about that.
Um,
We see how it goes. It's as we talk, isn't it? It's as we discuss. It's just nice. But it just reminds us actually that the skills needed of these sewers in that pressured environment, that they've got to make these split decisions, and then they've got this bag in front of them, and they've now got to somehow make it into an outfit, as well as think about colour and prints and how to use all. It's so many things they have to think about. It's quite phenomenal what they achieve, really.
I think so too. And I think you hear the comment, well, you need something that's not too drapey, and you need something that's not too thick. But in the haberdashery are drapey fabrics and thick fabrics. So
Yeah. Well,
it's all in there. It's
let's well, now, as we're talking about the tote bag and everything, and seen yours, let's have a look at what they did in the transformation challenge. So let's go to this picture, and then let's go, if my computer is right. There they are. So there's their tote bags, and as I say, some of them have used two or three. But when you think about it, when you look at those, I
oh,
wouldn't necessarily think they were made out of tote bags. So they're quite respectable
not at all.
garments, aren't they? Or a top.
Yeah,
They had to make a top. Did you
they're
have a
all great
favourite?
fun, and
Yeah.
they're all different.
Yes.
Well, yes, I remember this. I did like the I liked the little bra with the back skirt, like a little tailcoat,
That
which
one.
was Mia's, I think.
Mia. Yeah. Let's go
And I
to
loved the
Mia's.
one with
Let's look at
yeah.
that one. Oh, let's take that out. That one there. Look.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the back though,
I
wasn't
like
it?
how
That.
she mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just lovely, isn't
It's
it?
a great mix of fabrics, and the way that she drew it all in the back with the
Yeah.
elastic. And I thought that was very clever.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, asthma. It was quite stunning, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really sculptural, very pretty. Look at that, with
Look
the
at it.
peplum and the bow and the
Yeah.
ruffle sleeves. Very pure and lovely. And
It looks
she was the one who
immaculate.
picked up on the use of color.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Absolutely.
And
Yeah. I
what
mean,
do you
that
think?
got high marks deserved.
That's the cotton tote bag. That's a firm cotton to have those. The shoulders standing upright like that. I don't think she's got time to put any interfacing
That's
in, has
right.
she?
Well, it's the way she pleated it. She didn't gather it, she pleated it. So it forces it straight out.
Ah,
And
right.
she might have before she brought the mannequin forward, she might have given everything a tug, just horizontal, just
Yes,
to set
sort
that
of.
up.
Yeah, pulling it,
Um,
teasing it out like that. Yeah, but it's
yeah.
great.
So
And then
that's
look,
quite straight and yeah, that's quite horizontal. And then the peplum, that's got a whole different bit, doesn't it?
it's
That
beautiful, isn't it?
serpentine, tulipy.
Yeah. And then do you notice the detail on the bow? That's clearly one strap, and then she's picked out the pink from there and put it on the bottom of the strap there, hasn't she?
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful. So she's made it very fitted in the bodice with her bust darts,
yeah.
but then she's let it just really take flight with the peplum and the sleeves.
And you
So
think
pretty.
that is 90 minutes? I still think that's remarkable to make something like that. And when you look at those, I thought Vicky was a little bit harshly done by. Let's call Vicky's up. Where's Vicky? Here. No, that's Asma still. That's Mia still. Let's get rid of Mia. There's Vicky's.
Well done. I love what you're doing here. Yeah.
Because the
I
reason why I
really
like
do like
Vicky's,
that. It's got a completely different feel.
yeah, well, it was these side bits. Look at, that's interweaving there. I just thought was a very good use of the
Yes.
bags. Maybe didn't get as high up the
That's
criteria as
yeah. I mean, she really engineered that
yeah,
beautifully, didn't she? And it
absolutely.
might be that the choice of fabric was a little bit downplayed, a bit more subdued, muted colors.
Yeah.
But she did engineer it beautifully. Um, yeah, I agree with you there.
I,
I think you've got something.
I suppose
Yeah.
their argument was it actually still looks like a bag because it's up and round like that.
Oh,
but
right.
but
Okay.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
you know what those judges are like. I felt for her.
Oh,
I just because
don't we just?
when they said you've got to look at colour and print, I thought, well, perhaps she didn't have many bags left over by the time Vicky got. Everyone else had piled in. She was left with those two
Yes,
bags. That's what I had in my head.
no, I agree with you because everyone rushes for the pinks and the yellow and the Easter basket
Absolutely.
colors, and then what you have left over is what sludge.
It's right. And then let's finish with
Um,
Lizzie's, because Lizzie's jacket was quite amazing, really. To make a coaty jacket like that. She had some
no,
fun
I love
bags there,
that.
though, didn't she?
I really that one. Yeah, and that's great. I love the stand collar, which you know that takes the whole strap away, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people incorporated shoulder straps out of the straps, but Lizzie's just come up with something completely different, which doesn't look anything like a tote bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go. Where's my thingy gone? My scenes. There we go. Right, let's go to the.
I love the
Go on.
graphics. I love what you're doing, Stuart.
Well, so, I am getting better and better at it. There's Lizzie. Let's take her out. So I have this little thing here where I, I, I push my buttons to call certain people up, but sometimes I program it wrong and I call up the wrong person as and when. But it has certainly made an impact. We've got lots of messages saying it's lovely seeing the pictures as we discuss it. It makes more sense to the viewer. And there are many people, would you believe, in America who can't watch the show because the Sewing Bee isn't broadcast over there, but they'll watch our show to see the picture and then hear our discussion about it, because it's for people who like sewing. it's good content, isn't it?
Oh, totally. And what you're doing is you're putting them in the sewing room with your graphics because you're
Yeah.
able to capture the pictures. So although they can't see the program, they're there in the sewing room in a sense. So
Yeah.
they get a feel for what's happening.
And they're in the sewing room with me chatting and your expertise, so they get to go, oh right, oh okay, that's an interesting point, that's a good technique, that's a good little tip. So it is wonderful. So let's go on to the made to measure, which caused a bit of an outcry really, because of this idea of they had to take, viewers, if you haven't seen it, they had to take a crochet granny blanket, which they had to source themselves, and they had to make, let's get the wording right, they had to make just an outfit. That's all it was, an outfit from it. But as you rightly said earlier, an outfit probably is more than just a jacket. It should be maybe two items minimum, probably an outfit. An outfit is what you would go out in. And on our other show, Ting was livid at the fact of, hang on, you can't take crochet and cut it up. Someone has worked so hard on that. But from my camp, I was like, well, it's been in a charity shop. It's clearly not wanted. So why not take that crochet blanket, give it another lease of life, and make it into something else? So you're not only creating a garment that no one loves anymore, but you're also giving it a second chance to show that wonderful crochet off. What camp were you in? Were you in my camp or were you in Ting's camp?
Well, it's so off the wall, this challenge, by taking a blanket. I don't know much about crochet and I'm fascinated with it. Um, I know that you just do one needle on a hook, that's it. And so it's got a different way of assembling itself, versus knitting. But, I remember the crocheted garments of the 60s, and they're what I would call fashioned. So, if you were making trousers, you would crochet a top side and an underside with the shape. So that shape would be made out of crochet, and then you sew that together. This is taking a big piece of fabric and then having to cut those shapes. So you're working against this square pattern if it's granny square, and those can be different sizes too, right? You can have small granny squares or large ones.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really, really confusing. It's really off the wall. I didn't like to see beautifully handmade blankets trashed because very few of the garments ended up being wearable. But I was fascinated with Lizzie's because she took a very cozy blanket and made a very cozy jacket. And I thought that was amazing.
This one.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. We might as well, while we're talking, while we're showing it. Can I get Lizzie's up? Where's Lizzie's? Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. There.
There you go. See, I thought that was just beautifully done. She made an outfit, so she had a set of garments to create an ensemble. So that filled the brief. I liked the mix of the diamonds in the skirt or the dress and this jacket, which had tight sleeves but a loose collar, lovely bolero styling, and I think this was one of the best offerings because she really did transform this knitted blanket into something which you wouldn't recognize as a knitted blanket. Because it was slightly Moschino in the dress. Yeah. Okay. So to me, this and Tony's probably met the brief the best.
Which one? Tony Beanie? Tony W.
No, Tony W, I think it is. Yeah. So those two.
That one.
Were my absolute favorite. This was elegant.
Beautiful.
This was chic. And it's an ensemble. So again, it met the brief. And then my third choice was the other Tony, Beanie Tony. With the beautiful puffy sleeve, midriff top. Yeah. So those three met the brief.
And
beautifully. And I would have a hard time deciding which one I would like
yeah,
the
well,
best.
look at those
Those are my top
trousers
three.
for a start. He has taken two granny blankets, and somehow the precision in getting those to match up.
Yes.
That's, I mean, that would be
It's
hard work for a
yeah.
patchworker, let alone putting
Yeah.
thick crochet and sewing that together to make those points meet is superb.
Superb. And they were fully lined. And
Yeah.
he'd managed to um, sandwich the elastic in the crochet and the lining. And
Yes.
that's a heavy garment. And then the hem was perfectly calculated. And Tony has really natural engineering skills. And I
Absolutely.
think we're,
Yeah.
as the competition goes on, I can't wait to see what Tony Beanie does
Vinny.
next.
I absolutely agree. There is something also about his I don't know, his aura, his being. He just seems chilled. He's not. He doesn't. Well, he might well be like, what they say. The swan and his feet might be going like this, 10 to the dozen underneath. But he just comes along. Yeah, I'll sort that. Yeah, you're right there. You're right. Oh, just. And inside that brain is whirling with measurements. I think it's quite precise. I think his manner of working.
Yeah, and I love his workman, the way he presents himself, the pencil behind the ear.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
It's not your typical tailor's a dressmaker's tool, is
yeah.
it? This great pencil behind the ear. But I think we're going to see some really good things from him. As the competition
Yeah,
goes on.
it was a great round, but so some dealt with that crochet and sewing it better than others. I know Matthew, poor old Matthew. Let's go back to there. He obviously had thicker crochet. Maybe he had chunky weight yarn, and so sewing 2 or 3 layers of chunky weight yarn, as he said, he broke several needles. So maybe there was, and we know some people crochet with chunky, some people crochet with maybe like a double knit, so it's a little bit finer. So maybe he just had bad luck with the blankets that he chose.
Yeah, this was a real heartbreak because I love the dirndl idea. I love that fitted bodice and the whole thing very sculptural,
Yeah,
and I think he handled it very well. And we're going to talk about kind of what went wrong. Um, I really like this. I like the color combination. It was very soft on the eyes, and the bodice fitted beautifully. The
didn't it?
straps were in the right
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
I liked the way that he had an asymmetrical front, and he used that red border very well.
yeah.
Um, I it was so sad because I was willing this to be better than it was because it was a very good design, and I would have loved to have seen the bow on the back.
Yeah.
But things got uneven, and once they're uneven and you start assembling things, and that poor center back seam of his,
Yeah.
which was longer on one side than the other, and
But
we'll talk
that's
about
easily
that.
done, isn't it? That's happened to me with normal sewing, let alone sewing crochet, or even patchwork. You get one longer than the other, like that sort of thing. It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. If we can just go back to the camera two, I've got
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
ideas that I can
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
okay.
right now. Okay.
Love it when we
Let's
do
see if I
this.
can do this.
You're doing a
Yeah.
great job.
Oh, thank you.
But look at that,
I
you've got
lost
it
him.
you've got it all prepped already, look.
It's already so it's just I got a pair of trousers here. Can everyone
Oh,
see this?
it's good, and
So,
and it's clear picture. The camera's caught up and rendered, so it's even clearer. Yep, perfect.
let's
Yep,
do
there.
this. Okay, so you can see this is the top of the trouser, this is the waistband, this is the fork line of the back,
Yep.
the inside leg, the outside leg. Okay, so when these go together, these notches match, these notches match, and there's your hem that matches. So if when you're working with an awkward cloth like the granny square, the way to sort this out and make sure that things are going to match up and even is to create some notches for yourself, some balance points. And then you make sure that the distance from here to here is equal to this distance to the notch. And when you match these things up, I mean, those people that have sewn from patterns, you know that this is how things go together. The same thing with the inside leg. You know, when that goes to here, that has to line up, right?
Yeah.
So if you're aware of the shapes and of your balance points, then that's not going to happen. What happened to Matthew was because, you know, this is the back, the center back. Well, one of his pieces was allowed to be, you know, down to here. I know it was a dress, but
Yeah.
you know, if that happens, you get that mismatch of the seam, and it was sad because you know the judges said that's really bad.
Yeah.
But now we're going to talk about it's not bad. Something happened, and this is how you can make it right.
Brilliant.
The other thing I would say is you've got a dart in the back of your trouser here. But if you're working with a very forgiving cloth like the granny square, you don't really need to sew that dart in, do you? You can just ease it in.
Yeah.
You know, because the fabric will take it. There's lots of spaces in it. I'm going to see. Keep that there. I'm just going to see what happened.
I love it. What's Carol gonna pull out?
What has she got now?
You see the beauty of the way we record this now. It's I don't know. You see, because when we did it before, Carol would film it and I would then edit it in. So then we would then have the conversation, pretending I don't know when I actually do know because I'd edited it in. Whereas now we record live with this software, and now it's rendered. It's beautifully clear. I know it's still over the waves. It's going up and down the satellite, so sometimes it pixelates a bit, but we're doing it live, so we sort of just. I'm just like you watching it. We do it as is. Okay. So, ooh, look at that.
So now here's. I hope y'all can see this. So this is another thing. If you're sewing, let's say you've got your granny squares, okay, center back, and let's say these are your squares, right? And you're going to make this top. The way to keep it in balance is to make sure that the measurement on the side seam, okay, here's your front, matches your back.
Yeah.
So you've got, and so what you can do is you can set this up. So you can take, say, a piece of, this is a bit thick, but you can take a stay. Like this is just a piece of fusible. I'm going to use it for the next demonstration. But you could use this because it doesn't stretch. So you could cut this, say to this length, right?
Okay.
Okay. So cut this, and then divide it into 4. Can we see this, everybody?
Yeah, it's pixelated a bit. It's better when things are still, but we can still follow.
Okay, so now you've got 4 pieces of a stay. They're all the same length, okay?
Yeah.
All the same length. You want to fix one of these stays to each of your side seams, okay? You fix that on. You iron it on, or
absolutely
you
get you. On. Yeah.
Right. So that when you sew these things together, everything matches. So your hemline is going to be true, and it's going to be the same level.
It's going to stop the granny square from expanding and increasing and getting longer and longer, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We do the shoulder seams now. So we're going to take, and I'm sorry if this is pixelating, but so you put that on each of your shoulder seams.
Yeah.
Okay. You put that on. Okay. your shoulder seam here, shoulder seam here.
Yeah,
put the same
perfect.
thing here, put the same thing here. Simple trick. This is a fusible web. It's 2 inches, and I'm going to show you another thing that we can do with this. So we'll stay on this camera, okay, Stuart?
Yeah. And
now,
go on, because this is where obviously we're saying things that the sewers couldn't do because they haven't got time. So that's where this program is great, because we are giving you the ways of, right, if you're now going to do this, then this will help you not be in the same position that Matthew was in or some of the others were in, because you've got time. So that's one technique. So you've got the stay tape, as it were, in, or interfacing.
Absolutely right. And we've seen what goes wrong in the sewing bee, okay? And we're going to take out those words that are, this is a mess, or this is all over the shop, or this is really bad. We're going to
doesn't
show
help,
you
does it?
how.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, none of that helps. But we're going to show you now. You can actually go to the charity shop. If there is a garment in the sewing bee in this episode that you really liked, you want to try it on your own, here's some techniques that will help you.
I am amazed that you've got a granny blanket there. Have you just knocked that up?
I know. No, I wish. This is about 50 years old. My mother made this, and it's a treasure. It's a real treasure. I'll never do anything else with it, other than just have it and look at it every now and then. And I can't imagine, because I don't crochet. I can't imagine how long this takes. I know my mother used to just knit all the time, knit and crochet, and we always had socks and beanies and scarves and Afghans, and I just so admire.
It's many an hour. I crochet.
Yeah.
Once you get into the rhythm, you can go very quick. I've got many friends who will do this over maybe every evening over a month or so, but it is a lot of hard handwork for sure, couture work for sure.
Yes. So can you crochet? Do you have to watch, or do you get to a point, Stuart, where your hands just know what to do? And they
It does when you do granny squares, because granny squares are all based on the triple. Everything's in threes, and it's using what we call the treble stitch. If you're American, because I know we have a lot of Americans following us, they call it the double. But it's everything's done in threes, Carol. So that green bit you're looking there should see a treble, a treble, and a treble, like that. And then there's a chain. Could you see?
I can see 3 stitches.
So you'll have 3 stitches, and then that's a bad colour. Let me change my colour of my pen so we could actually see it. Let's go to yellow. Right. So you'll have a 1, 2, and where you gone? That's better. Hold it there. Hold it still. Let's look at this one here. So you've got this blue. You've got 1, 2, 3, and then you'll have a chain space where you do a chain. Then you'll have 1, 2, 3. Then in the corner, it depends on what you like doing, whether you have 2 chains or 3 chains, and then you'll do another set of 3 chain space, another set of 3 chain space, and you just keep going round like a clock. So you've got the green layer, then you've got the blue layer, then you've got the green layer, then you've got the blue layer. But it's all trebles, and once you get into a rhythm of it, you don't have to watch your hands. You can easily watch the telly and crochet.
Yeah, because you're right. I didn't know that. That's really helpful, Stuart. Thanks. That's amazing. And then it's really wonderful what you can do with color. So
absolutely.
We've got kind of a very stroby thing going on with this lime green, and then the 2 softer blues.
So it was your mum, you said, wasn't it?
My mother, yeah.
Yeah, so she would have done the green layer first, then she would have changed to the blue, and then she would have changed to the green again, and then to the blue, and then the light blue is the last one that joins it all. It's fascinating.
Right.
Lovely. And that's quite chunky yarn, isn't it, Carol?
Well, I'm not a yarn person, but it does seem very thick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to sew a seam, so we're going to see how we
Oh.
go. But
And you're
the
not going to
first thing I
do.
would say is
Sorry, for my knowledge of patchwork, when I'm dealing with 3 or 4 layers, I know there's, and I think this is what also happened to Matthew. You get some shifting. The sewing machine might push
yeah.
the bottom through out of sync to the top, so that could also push it out. Are you going to do anything specific with your machine or not?
I'm going to do 2 things which I think will help.
Okay.
Because when the first thing I would say is when fabric goes through the presser foot, when it's flat, it just goes through
Yeah. Yeah.
one stitch at a time. But your presser foot has a central point here. The needle goes through the center, and then you have these kind of 2 feet.
Yep.
Well, when you've got a fabric like this, there's so many ways that presser foot can go through and
Oh,
can get stuck.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, and then it bunches up. Now,
Yeah.
you get anxious, you want to feed this through the machine.
Yep.
The feed dog is going, the fabric is stuck, it creates tension, the
Yeah.
needle gets displaced, and
Yeah.
the needle gets forced on top of the presser foot and it snaps.
Ah. That's what
So
happened to Michael.
when you're
Yeah.
anxious,
Matthew. Yeah.
yeah, Matthew, and when you're anxious, the tendency is to pull the fabric through, with your left hand and try to feed it through with your right hand, and that
Yeah.
just bunches everything right up. So, the first thing I would say is, you've got your square.
Yeah.
You know where the square is divided into and where the borders are. And I would say to match these points up and use large pins. Use
Okay.
long pins so you can see what you're doing. And then you can take a pin and put it in the border of one square, the border in the square underneath it. You can see the pin. You can see both ends. So I've set this up, with these larger pins. And then I thought, well, we were talking about stays, and you can iron this on or not, but if you sandwich your fabric in between 2 stays, 2 pieces of fabric, which then sandwich it in, yeah? And I'll just give that a little bit of a pin. It's very thick, as you say, so even by putting these pins in,
That's not going to go through your
bunchy.
machine, Carol, is it?
Yeah, it is. It is actually, because I did a test.
Wow.
But this makes things so much easier. And then we always talk about sewing fast or slow and just going very slow. Let your machine do the work. So you see, it's under the presser foot. Now I'm going to use a 3/4 of an inch seam. You've got to use a larger seam, and you can imagine why, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to go slow. I'm going to turn the hand crank first. Okay, we'll go backwards.
It's a very good
Forwards,
tip. That very good tip. When you start off, turn the hand crank first. Get the needle in the fabric. Don't use your foot.
That's right. Get the machine used to. Now the feed dog is under here, and it's got something to grab onto. It's grabbing onto this.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're in a sandwich. Okay, so I'm just going to, and we're going to go very slow. Not going to do this.
No,
We're
not
not
pull.
grab
Okay,
anything.
not pull.
No, do not pull. Just feed in, and stay very close to the presser foot with your fingers, and just encourage the cloth underneath the presser foot. Okay, and this, it really, you go through thicker bits and then thin bits, and then
Yeah.
then you have these spaces between. Now when you take this out, you see what's happened to this, because it's all stuck in all these channels.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's all right, because what you end up here with is a seam.
Oh, right.
And
Hopefully
that,
the camera will render. If you keep it still for a jiffy,
yeah,
it will finally catch up. You know the wonders of the internet. Sometimes it's
yeah.
great and sometimes a little bit slow. It'll get there. It'll
Well,
wake
it's
up
just something
soon.
we need. Yeah,
Yeah.
something we need to work on. But that has come out so nice and smooth.
Wow.
If you can see that now, you've got. I'm using a contrast stay, but you
Yeah.
could use a bit of lining, which is light blue, and then you can just trim this back, trim it off. But
Brilliant.
you've
Yeah.
pinned it, you've matched your squares, you've sandwiched your bulky fabric in between two very stable pieces of fabric, and there's your seam.
It's nearly there. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. And it's now about to render now. Yeah, look at that. So it's there. It's literally
Right.
there. And it's nothing shifted
That's it, Stuart.
and it's
No.
it's still there.
Yeah, and it all our cross seams match.
Yeah. I wonder if as well, because remember I said to you I'm a patchworker. When I'm dealing with 3 or 4 layers, I'll use a walking foot. I wonder if they didn't, if they
Yeah.
could have had access to a walking foot for a. Obviously, you've got your industrial there. You can put a
Yes.
walking foot on a normal
Yeah.
domestic sewing machine. That would have been also a good
Yes.
tip for them, wouldn't it?
That I think I saw somebody did use a walking
Oh
foot,
right, I didn't look. I
and
need to have a look. Okay,
that would have helped. That would have helped hugely.
because it's
So there we are.
it's that idea, isn't it, of you're taking these layers through. You don't want them to shift
Yep.
out of sync, do you? Or how do we do that? We do it like this. Because
That's it.
you want
That's
to
it.
keep them together. So you either keep them together with lots of pins or the walking foot, which brings the top one through at the same time as the bottom one. Or, as you say, you help the machine by putting the stay tape on. So it helped the presser foot, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And use the longest stitch that you have, and then use a stronger thread, a thread that's stronger than the fiber that you're sewing. And you're right about the walking foot, because the walking foot hops. It
Yeah,
hops over
yeah,
the cloth
yeah,
instead of smashing it down.
yeah. Which would then push them out of sync, wouldn't it? So it sort of catches up, pulls it through, catches up, pulls it through, doesn't it?
That's it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So all this is doable. You know, it's not a huge ask to take a granny Afghan, you know, made of whatever heavy ply that Stuart was talking about, because he knows more about that than I do. But it's not a big ask to do that. You just need the right equipment. You need
yeah.
the right thread.
It
You need the
it
right preparation and balance marks.
it's clearly a thing at the moment because it is this talk of upcycling, and if something is not being used, well, rather than just chuck it in landfill, let's give it another lease of life. And that's where I come from. I think if this blanket is not loved anymore, and I want to wear something different, then yes, go ahead and make something. There's a bloke who I follow on Instagram who I just want to show you, who I think is phenomenal, but some of my friends are like, "What? What is he doing?" He's in Las Vegas. He's a very talented young, well, tailor stroke creator. Let me show you this if this works. His name is Stan. It's Stan Clothing. He finds disused, unwanted tablecloths, quilts, and then makes them into stunning jackets or coats or t-shirts.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, they're a lot of money. I mean, look at that one there. That blazer here. This one. That
Yeah.
one.
Really, very chic.
$2,500. But right, rightly so, because it's his skills, his work. Oh, let's get rid of that.
Yep.
But look at that. So this one here.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
And this is
So he
old
uses
quilts that he's
applique
found.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
Look at what he's done with the pockets and where he's found the pockets. This is the one I liked. That I think I spoke to you about this one before. Rather than having a lace or getting, which lace can be quite expensive, he's found an old. I think that was a net curtain that or a
Oh my
lace
gosh.
or a lace tablecloth.
Oh, that's so. I really like that lacy shirt.
Yeah. So he's found
Oh, it's
the
beautiful.
edge. He's used the edging of the tablecloth.
Yeah.
He's used a feature of the tablecloth for the arms. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Look at this one here. Look at that lacy shirt from a tablecloth.
Oh,
And
gorgeous. Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
there's
yeah.
some patchwork. Oh, well, look at this one, Carol. You'll
Oh,
love that. Look at that borrow blazer. Look.
fantastic. Oh my
But
gosh, that's
there
really
is a
nice.
quilt
Yeah.
one
Do
here.
that. How inventive. Yeah.
This is a cathedral windows is a very famous
Oh,
quilt technique. So
I recognize that. Yeah.
and he's now made that. So this quilt is not wanted, and he's now made it into a couture piece of clothing. To me, I think that's brilliant. If that quilt was made a long while ago, maybe 200 years ago,
Yeah.
and it just might not be used anymore. It might have had bits coming off. It might have been coming off at the edge because quilts are massive, and he's cut it right down, and that's still celebrating whoever made that 200 years ago. I think that still says, look at this wonderful work. I'm now wearing it as a jacket rather than a quilt. I think there's something quite wonderful about that.
I think that's a very useful garment, and it's also the perfect combination of a time-honored craft and skill with, chic fashion. It's really merges beautifully those two disciplines.
Yeah. But I know
Yeah, very successful.
some people were like, no, he can't do that. He can't take out these quilts that were made 200 years ago, cut them up and make them out of a shirt. And I can understand both camps, but I think surely giving that garment or that quilt or the granny square blanket a second lease of life has got to be good, hasn't it? If it's not being used.
Oh, absolutely. And if you wear that jacket, 10 people see you and it's a head turner. That's no
Oh,
question about that.
isn't it? Yeah.
So what would you rather do? Have it in mothballs, or have
Yeah.
people turn their heads and go, what is that? It's a quilt. Really?
Yeah.
Somebody handmade it. Oh, it's a cathedral window.
Yeah.
Never knew that. That's really interesting.
And that
We
furthers
need
the
that
discussion.
connection between, we need that connection between using your hands to build something beautiful. It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in danger of going. So yeah,
Oh.
no, I like this chap you're following. I might just check.
Have
him
a look.
myself.
Yes, he does tend to be semi-naked most of the time. I was just wondering. So that's my challenge for the next couple of weeks. I'll see if I can do it for next week, but maybe the week after. I've got a very old 1950s. Well, I say very old. That's terrible. 1950s vintage lace tablecloth, a cotton lace tablecloth. I've dyed it with woad, which is what I do at my shop, and I'm going to turn it into a shirt like him. Maybe for next
I
week,
can't wait.
if not the week after. That's a deal. So that's my reusing and recycling challenge. And I know many of you are like, what? That's a beautiful tablecloth. How can you cut that up? But I shall show you. I shall take some before and after pictures. And if all's good, if time goes well, it's quite quiet in the shop because it's hot and sunny. So no one's crafting, Carol. No one's knitting or crocheting.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll leave you alone. I won't text you 1,000 times a
Exactly.
day. All right. We'll let you sew.
So that's my little challenge. So that finishes our reduce, reuse, recycle week. Lots to talk about. We've dotted in some of the makes that the sewers have made. We sadly had to lose someone, didn't we? And that was where is Matthew? There's Matthew there. We had to say goodbye to Matthew, and I can understand why. But then on the other side, to celebrate Garment of the Week, it was, where is she? It was Mia, and because we haven't shown this one yet, have we? Let's get rid of, that was, who was that one? That was Matthew. There, look at that. Garment of the Week. What do you think of that crochet garment?
It just wasn't. I'm going to get flack for this, but it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't at all. I thought it was a very safe bet. I thought it was. It wasn't particularly.
We like different things. We're all into different things, aren't we?
Yeah, didn't go for it. It was a shame that it's no, I don't like that phrase. It was a shame, but it's it was so bad. I know it was an oversized jacket, but it didn't do it any favors. It put everything out of balance, and it sent it in a whole different line. It didn't sit straight. Nothing lined up because it was too big, and that was alien to that Chanel suit that she was trying to accomplish. The collar was too big, the shoulders were too wide, and then this lovely pattern and the 3 tiny little toggles which did nothing really. So I would have left that on the side, and I would have concentrated more on the other 3 that I pointed out, really.
Indeed, absolutely, and that's why we looked at those. Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? What you do with crochet and what they created in. Oh, I can't remember how many. Was it 5 hours or so putting that through? But so we said goodbye to me, Matthew, and Mia. There was Garment of the Week. Say goodbye, Matthew. Yes, I'll get all my names muddled up. And then hopefully I'll have. Oh, thanks, Mia. Let's say goodbye to you. Hopefully I'll have a shirt recycled and reused for everyone to look at. Oh, do you know I need to be wearing it as well? I think, don't I?
Oh, well, I'm going to look forward to that. And good luck to Matthew. And I hope that he promotes what he's doing, in social media, because he's such a creative
absolutely.
gem. And I just look forward to whatever else he's going to come up with. I loved watching him on the program. We're going to miss him greatly, but onward we go with the competition.
Indeed. And next week we'll be halfway through, Carol. Can you believe that? So yes,
no.
I was whizzing by, and then we've got to do a live as well with everyone. We've got to work that out. Let's see how technology goes. But you're back to current and not so pixelated. So the internet is a bit like this and this, isn't it? But for now, everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll see you for week 5 of All Gathered Up next week. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Cheers, everyone.